The Pokemon franchise has 22 fully evolved cats in it. I have determined this through rigorous research. The inclusion of cat-inspired creatures in Pokemon is controversial. Some dislike cats for their selfish and aggressive nature. I find cats to be quite charming personally, but they are certainly divisive. These Pokemon cats range wildly in their temperaments, moral values, and power levels, as do cats in real life. They also say that every dog has its day, and yet they say that curiosity killed the cat. Cats are at an inherent disadvantage compared to dogs, with fewer days ahead of them and death looming around the corner. And yet they persevere. Let's rank all of the cats in Pokemon. I am considering Espeon, Leafeon, and Glaceon to be cats, but I don't believe the other evolutions are as cat-like and are not on the list. Raikou and Entei are tigers, which is a kind of cat. Suicune is a non-cat. Mew I believe to be a cat, from the shape of its ears and also its name evoking the sound a cat makes. Also, this video is about competitive singles, so Incineroar will not be number 1 on the list. I'm just warning you in advance before you leave a comment about it. Let's get into it. At the bottom of the list, the worst cat in the Pokemon franchise is unfortunately Delcatty. Ironically, this is the most cat-like Pokemon they've ever created. This is an explicit cat and you can't deny it. And yet, it's a dreadful Pokemon. Even in Gen 3 when Delcatty debuted, it was paling in comparison to other normal types like Lickitung and Clefable. If Lickitung is outclassing you, I think there is a big problem. At the time, this was a typical utility normal type with such options as Wish and Thunder Wave and Protect, but plenty of other normal types have those, and Delcatty has little to offer beyond the useless ability Cute Charm and dreadful stats that provide very little. The years were not kind to Delcatty, as being a normal type just got worse and worse, and it was a bad normal type to begin with. A new ability they gave it was Normalize, which turns all of your moves into normal type and gives them a bit of a power boost. It's a crap ability that is not much of a help. You can have normal type Sucker Punch, but how much of a help is that really? Why does this even learn Sucker Punch, by the way? It doesn't seem like something Delcatty would do, an underhanded tactic like that, a punch to the head unexpectedly. I don't think that's thematically appropriate, doesn't seem right to me. Perhaps the developers are suggesting that even the most innocent and altruistic looking cat has a darker side, an evil inclination, which is a bit of a cynical outlook from the Pokemon company there to give Sucker Punch to Delcatty, but I respect the social commentary they're going for. I think Delcatty was designed around the contest mechanic in the game, so it wasn't necessarily made for battle. It's supposed to be a domesticated cat. It's not meant to be sent into combat. But regardless, we have to be honest here and call this the worst cat. It has to be done. I will give Delcatty some credit though. It does look as if it's wearing one of those neck pillows that you wear on a flight, which I think is quite forward-thinking and intelligent, so we can give it some respect there. Other than that though, not a very powerful Pokemon. Up next would be another low-end cat, Glaceon. The worst of the evolutions and almost the worst cat overall. Glaceon is of course the Ice-type evolution, which is a recipe for disaster inherently, as Ice is one of the toughest types to design in Pokemon. Ice types have terrible defensive traits, and defensive traits are important to, switch onto the field and start existing. So Ice types usually have to be fast to make up for all their defensive shortcomings and lean into their offensive qualities, but Glaceon here only has 65 base speed. They have designed it as a bulky attacking ice type, which is just not something that works in any capacity. Therefore Glaceon is terrible in every generation. Glaceon does have pretty good special attack though and high defense, with the new buff to snow, allowing Glaceon to achieve defense in the snow. That could be useful, as well as the ability Ice Body providing some synergy there, but Glaceon's existence is a tough one. With all the discourse recently about cat-like reflexes and how that translates into Pokemon speed, it's curious that no one has gone to bat for Glaceon with its measly 65 speed. Is the ice slowing it down? Explain Weavile then. Explain Weavile. Cats are fast in Pokemon except when they're made of ice, and yet other ice creatures are speedy. It doesn't add up. I am going to investigate this, and there is someone who's going to be responsible for this terrible, terrible outcome. Someone will suffer for this. Up next is Alolan Persian, a overall strange Pokemon. Alolan Persian is a dark type, it's fast, but it has terrible attacking stats and it's very frail. It's sort of a fast utility guy with options like Parting Shot to pivot out and lower the enemy's offensive stats. It has Knock Off, Foul Play, etc. It also has the ability Fur Coat, which doubles its defense. Kind of random on this Pokemon without much bulk to take advantage of that. It's actually one of the best abilities in the whole game, but they've given it to Alolan Persian, who isn't really great at using it. You know, I've never really stopped and thought about it, but why does having Fur grant double defense? Fur is not that defensively powerful. It has some, like a grizzly bear's fur will defend it, but it's not going to double its defense. It's not like plated steel armor or something. And why would Alolan Persian have Fur Coat, but other Pokemon with fur do not have double defense from their fur? Does Alolan Persian specifically have very powerful fur? And if so, why didn't they specify that in the ability name? It's just called Fur Coat. Why not powerful fur coat or something to signify that this is very special fur? Does Alolan Persian look as if the fur is particularly incredible defensively? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so. Much to think about, much to ponder. Anyway, back on topic, Alolan Persian is bad. It has bad stats, and it clicks Parting Shot, which is okay, but other Pokemon are better at that. It's ranked very low in competitive, and I don't value it. Up next is the Pokemon Berserker, which I have to say is overall a dreadful Pokemon. Does anyone like this one? Leave a comment below if you like this, because who asked for another branching Meowth? I don't think anyone asked for that. And this is a hideous Pokemon, terrible name and bizarrely designed. I don't like Berserker in any capacity. I want to move on from it very quickly. But Berserker is a mono steel with okay defensive stats, I suppose, low speed, and the ability Steely Spirit, which grants 1.5x steel damage. So that's pretty good for its eye and head. It deals eye and head damage, but everything else about it sucks. It's slow. It's not the best offensive type. It's not very good. It's a cat, though. That's undeniable, but it's a bad cat. Very bad one. Up next is Pyro, who's a lion. Lions are a kind of cat. This is true. It's scientific stuff. Pyro is a very forgettable Pokemon, I must say. I don't have anything against it particularly, but it's sort of just a lion, and they didn't even bother to put this in recent games either. Pyro is fire normal type, very fitting typing thematically for a fire lion, I suppose, but it's a bad typing. It's really unremarkable. Its stats are average, with its highest stat being 109 special attack, and it's sort of just a bad fire type special attacker. I'm putting it above the other cats so far because at least this has a decent speed stat of 106 that can outrun some stuff. 109 special attack is usable. It's got Stab Hyper Voice, which is okay for neutral damage against things, and it can use in Gen 7 Gracium Z with Solar Beam. That's okay, but this is not very remarkable at all. It's a bad special attacker. It also has the ability Moxie, which is random, because Moxie grants attack on KO, and yet its attack is very bad, and it doesn't have a very good offensive move pool on the physical side, so I don't know why the hell they did that for. What was the purpose of that? For a laugh, I suppose. And how would we analyze the wordplay in the name? Pyro, it's like a pyromaniac, and he's roaring like a lion. Pretty good, sounds okay. I'd give like a 7 out of 10 for the wordplay on that one. Next Pokemon. Up next is Meowth, who has two different forms, one male, one female, that look different but are the same in their stats. Pretty novel though. This intriguing cat is a psychic type. It's a bad typing, but at least it has the ability Prankster, which is very good. Prankster grants priority to all status moves, and Meowth has a decent utility move pool to take advantage of Prankster. It has dual screens, Reflect and Light Screen, which can help your team out defensively. It's got Thunder Wave. That's about it, honestly. Does it have anything else noteworthy? Maybe Encore? No, it doesn't even have Encore. So there you see the problem, is that other Prankster Pokemon have better utility moves overall. This is still pretty good, but I think that other Prankster Pokemon are going to be superior. The stats are not very good. You have a high speed stat, kind of useless on a Prankster Pokemon. Mostly because you're relying on the Prankster priority for your quick actions rather than your speed stat. A bit of a waste. So Meowth, I would give a lower rank, but better than the prior cats because of its Prankster utility being decently useful. Luxray is up next. Luxray is sort of a lion or a tiger. That's definitely a cat. Luxray is an electric type from Gen 4 that is okay. It's got some pretty good abilities. Intimidate and Guts are both good. Intimidate lowers the enemy's attack on switch-in. Nice defensive value there. And Guts grants an attack boost if you are statist. That has its value. It's also a rare physically leaning electric type. You don't see that very often, and especially back in Gen 4 you didn't. Physical electric types have always had the issue of bad stab moves. Luxray had to rely on Wild Charge, I think it still does, and its move pool is pretty shallow overall. While its attack stat is impressive and its stats are okay, the low speed and shallow options are not fantastic for Luxray, as well as the crowded electric type, where many other Pokemon outclass it. I scarcely think of Luxray. Luxray is not on my mind often. Not a Pokemon that I ponder, and I would like to keep it that way. Up next is Original Persian, a pioneer of cat Pokemon, an innovator. Original Persian is a simple normal type. Very similar stats to Alolan Persian, who we mentioned earlier, but Persian Original has 70 attack, a little bit higher, and it has the ability Technician, which is a far better ability than what Alolan Persian has. Technician will grant a power boost to moves with 60 power or less. It's a great offensive ability, it gives Persian some stuff to do. It's a bit more offensively threatening. It's a bit better, and it has slightly more stuff. It's also a good Pokemon in the Gen 1 metagame. We can give some respect for that, where normal types are broken, and it has Hyper Beam and Slash, which are good attacks. Persian also has a little gemstone on its head, giving it some material value, something to consider. Up next we have Purugly, a Pokemon at the center of much discourse. Purugly is known for having a high speed stat of 112, which, in my stupid opinion, did not line up with its appearance. It looks like sort of a fat, big cat that is not that fast. It's faster than Latios, for goodness sake, but I was promptly called very stupid for suggesting this because of cat reaction time, something I failed to consider. So I take that back and I rescind that, and I say that the speed stat on Purugly actually makes perfect sense, and I'm sorry for ever suggesting otherwise. Anyway, Purugly is a fast normal type attacker. It's got 82 attack. It's like a very similar Pokemon to Persian actually, but it's got the ability Defiant, which is perhaps better. Defiant gives you some insurance against Intimidate and some anti-defog technology. If a Pokemon with Defiant has a stat lowered, it in turn gains a +2 boost to its attack. Quite a good offensive ability. You also have Fake Out, which is a useful normal type attack. Persian actually has that too. Purugly is slightly better offensively and is okay in lower tiers. It's nothing special though. It's a low quality cat overall, but one of the most important cultural touchstones of cats for the philosophical arguments that Purugly introduced into the ecosystem, and that we can never forget. Up next we have Leafeon, the grass type evolution, which I believe to be a cat based on its appearance. Looks cat-like to me. Leafeon, kind of a magical being that is rather popular. All the evolutions are popular, but Leafeon has a certain magic to it that appeals to me personally. Unfortunately, though, competitively speaking, Leafeon is rather unremarkable. It does have good stats, though. It has 130 defense, 110 attack, and a good speed stat of 95. These are workable traits. It's ranked UU in Gen 4. That's respectable, I suppose. And it has access to Swords Dance and good attacks like Knock Off. Later on, it also gets Chlorophyll, granting double speed in the sun, as well as the move Solar Blade, which is a physical counterpart to Solar Beam. Regrettably, Leafeon is just consistently outclassed by other grass types and other chlorophyll Pokemon. It's not terrible, but it's middle of the road and doesn't provide anything particularly fantastic. Therefore, Leafeon is pretty consistently ranked in the lowest tiers of the game and is not a very popular choice. People have been telling me that I should leave him alone already, which I suppose I will now. I'll move on to a different topic. Up next we have Incineroar. Whoa, it's Incineroar! You guys know this one. You know this one. This is a famous one. Did you know that in VGC, Incineroar is a good Pokemon? It has Intimidate and Fake Out, and a good typing that's neutral to Fairy, and it has Knock Off and U-Turn and a lot of good attacks. They gave it Parting Shot. Did you know that? I might be the first to ever make such an observation. In competitive singles, though, Incineroar is not the titan that it is in doubles. It's pretty bad, actually. It's a Fire Dark, bulky attacker with Intimidate and low speed. It's suffering from its rock weakness and the fact that it's outclassed by many other fire types. In singles, Incineroar is unfortunately slow and easy to defeat and kind of average. But it's better than prior ranked cats because it does have a good move pool, good ability, well-rounded stats, I suppose, and it's higher ranked generally than they are. I do not like Incineroar. I don't like that he looks like Garfield. I don't enjoy his general demeanor. I think his hand animation sort of gives me flashbacks to a darker time in my life. I don't want to look at Incineroar. I don't want to be around Incineroar. I also would like people to stop mentioning Incineroar in my comments. Do you know how many people mention Incineroar even though I am a singles-based channel? You're always talking about how I forgot to bring up Incineroar, when no I didn't, okay? I did not forget. Incineroar's not part of the conversation. Incineroar does not get to insert himself into conversations where he is not relevant. Okay, Incineroar may be prolific in one arena, but there are many arenas in life, okay? Incineroar, you are not the center of the universe, you self-centered freak. There's more to life than you, Incineroar. It's not always about you, and I need you guys to stop talking about Incineroar in my comments. No mention of Incineroar? Any mention of Incineroar in this video? No, there's not a mention of Incineroar. Then, well, now there is, but usually there isn't. Okay, so why don't we please move on from Incineroar? Let's all talk about better Pokemon instead now, like Muck or somebody. Let's talk about somebody else. Up next is Liepard, who I'm ranking pretty high here. Liepard is a Dark-type Pokemon with some pretty cat-like stats. This is kind of in line with other cats. Pretty average attack and special attack, a high-ish speed, but not too high, and very frail. But Liepard is an interesting Pokemon. Liepard is at the forefront of a lot of incredibly broken strategies. It has led to a lot of rule set changes. For that reason, I give Liepard some respect here. Liepard has the ability Prankster, which we have mentioned before. It has the effect of raising priority on non-attacking moves, status moves. Liepard is the reason that Swagger is a banned move in a lot of generations, because Liepard has priority Swagger to raise the enemy's attack and confuse them, which frequently would bring games down to coin flip situations. And because it confuses the enemy and raises their attack, they are hitting themselves in confusion for more damage. And Liepard could abuse this with priority on it, which was very difficult to play around in some cases. Liepard could also use Assist for some broken strategies. It could use Assist Roar to shuffle Pokemon around and rack hazard damage jump. There was Assist Revival Blessing in National Dex, which was the reason National Dex Anything Goes is not a playable tier anymore, because the meta revolved around infinite revival blessings with Liepard and Purloin. There's also, of course, Dive Cats, where you can assist dive and do the lagging tail thing and never die and always live. So Liepard is very cat-like in its deceptive and underhanded nature. Perhaps it's the quintessential cat, using tricks and deceit for its advantage. In its current state, it's not particularly powerful, but I have to give respect to the earth-shattering implications of putting Liepard in the game. They didn't even put Liepard in Gen M, probably because they thought it could somehow break the game again, so they just stopped putting him in the game. The cat, in this case, Curiosity did kill the cat. They're not putting him in Pokemon anymore. They've revoked your right to exist, Liepard. I'm sorry. They've taken you away because of all the things you've done. Up next is Entei, a tiger-inspired creature, and a tiger is a kind of cat, of course. Entei is also a legendary Pokemon. Entei is part of the legendary beast trio of Gen 2, and it has always been the worst one. Being a fire type, it has had some struggles. In early generations, it had to rely on special attacks for fire stab, and its move pool was rather limited, and its special attack was only 90. It was still an okay Pokemon in Gens 2 and 3, but it was paling in comparison to its more powerful and accomplished brothers. Entei still, of course, has good HP, solid well-rounded stats, 100 speed, and a high attack stat, but in the early gens that wasn't really enough. And in fact in Gen 3 it's even outclassed by Arcanine, who is a similar Pokemon with the better abilities of Intimidate and Flash Fire, which are more desirable competitively. Entei on the other hand has Pressure, which is not as useful. Later on, Entei did at least receive some new tools like the move Sacred Fire, one of the best attacks in the whole game, with 100 power and a 50% burn chance. Entei has also always had the move Extreme Speed, which is a great option for priority. Entei got a bit better as a physical attacker, but it sort of has failed to keep up with the times. There are more powerful and more desirable fire-type physical attackers in the game. Infernape was one of them. Even Darmanitan has more merit. Cinderace eventually came out, and Cinderace is currently outclassing Entei. A slightly rough career for a legendary, but still a likable Pokemon with distinct traits that captures the hearts of many. Entei also happens to live in my house, which has been complicated to manage, but it is the truth. It's the truth. Up next is Espeon, a very popular cat Pokemon, and the best of the cat-adjacent evolutions. Espeon is a Psychic-type Pokemon with a pretty nice stat distribution. It has 130 special attack, 110 speed, and a respectable 95 special defense. In the earlier games, Espeon was a viable choice competitively in Gens 2 and 3 because of its unique qualities of having Calm Mind, Baton Pass, and this respectable stat distribution too. The ability Synchronize was also fairly useful in Gen 3 in some interactions. In Gen 5, Espeon got a huge buff, receiving the ability Magic Bounce. Espeon was actually one of the most powerful Pokemon in the game at a point because it enabled Baton Pass chains to be completely uninteractable, as you could Baton Pass to your Espeon and prevent effects such as Whirlwind and Roar from removing all of your boost, as well as Espeon itself benefiting from those Baton Pass stats. Those strategies were banned partially because of Espeon's abusive tendencies. Sometimes Espeon is still used today in niche circumstances as a boost sweeper on Psychic terrain offense teams. With its high speed and magic bounce, it is unique. As an offensive threat that can also provide anti-hazard technology. Magic Bounce, of course, bounces back various things, including entry hazards. This gives Espeon kind of a unique identity. Currently, the most popular Magic Bounce Pokemon is Hatterene, who is very slow and more defensive. And prior to that, it was Xatu, also more defensive leading. Espeon is the aggressive Magic Bouncer, and that is useful sometimes. Espeon is not that great in modern gens, outside of that small niche, but it has a respectable career, I think, and that game-breaking Baton Pass stuff is certainly noteworthy. So I would give Espeon quite a bit of respect on the cat rank. Up next, I have put Meowth, the new Grass-type starter Pokemon of Generation 9, and a pretty successful competitive Pokemon in its debut game. Even though it's currently ranked UUBL, Meowth has been solidly relevant throughout most of Gen 9's lifespan and remains a solid choice in Gen 9 OU today. Meowth is a Grass Dark-type Pokemon, which is a good typing. It has a pretty nice stat distribution with a solid 110 attack and a great 123 speed stat. Meowth has the fantastic ability Protean as well, which has been nerfed in Gen 9 actually. Protean now only activates its type-changing effect when you click a move once per switch in. You have to switch out and back in to reactivate the type-changing effect, but this ability is still very good and provides stab damage, especially on U-turn, which conveniently switches you out and resets the Protean. Meowth has been a very successful Protean user with its high speed, knockoff, U-turn, fantastic signature move Flower Trick, which always crits, and ever since it also received the coverage option of Triple Axle in DLC, it has been a prominent choice. I think Meowth falling from OU is just a tier shift that honestly may correct itself later. I think this Pokemon is still extremely solid, a great Pokemon with a fantastic move pool, fantastic offensive tools, and overall a very nice modern starter design in my opinion that is competitively relevant and pretty fun to use too. I think it's cool. Up next we have Incineroar, who is a mythical Pokemon. I think this is sort of a tiger type guy. It's humanoid in its stature, but it's got cat ears. I think it's a cat. Incineroar is a great Pokemon. It debuted in Gen 7, where unfortunately it wasn't the best, largely because of a crowded electric type where Tapu Koko was dominant at the time. But in Gen 8, Incineroar really rose to be actually one of the most powerful Pokemon in the entire competitive singles metagame. Incineroar has a lot of inherently fantastic traits. It's got very good offensive stats with 112 attack and 102 special attack, allowing it mixed attacking options. And its speed stat is also fantastic, being base 143. It's even faster than Dragapult, which is very rare. Its offensive move pool is also very good. It's an electric type with an actual good electric physical move, Plasma Fists, which just has 100 power, 100 accuracy, and 24 PP. This is so solid, and it's very rare to see something like this, which is part of why Incineroar is so great. It also has a bonus effect, if it wasn't already solid enough. This move will cause all normal type attacks to become electric on the turn that it's clicked, which will basically make you immune to them because of your Volt Absorb ability. So if you predict the normal type attack or effect coming, you can use Plasma Fix to turn it into a electric type attack and become immune with Volt Absorb. Beyond that, you also have Bulk Up to boost yourself up, Close Combat for coverage, Knockoff for coverage. Zeraora is not in Gen 9, but I'm sure that if it was, it would be OU yet again. Having that speed tier higher than Dragapult is still very important and would be powerful. It's a strong Pokemon with a lot of positive traits, what can be said. Up next is Solgaleo, the cover legendary of Pokemon Sun. And, you know, now that I think about it, now that I'm faced with it in front of me, yes, I'm giving it respect as a powerful cat, but I think this is maybe the worst box legendary ever designed. It's a very unexciting one. It's of course very powerful inherently because it's a box legendary. It has very high stats, the excellent move Sun, Steel, Strike, overall very good physical coverage. It is banned in all the generations it's available to Uber's tier, which is a demonstration of its power, but it's never been a great Pokemon in the Uber's tier among the other legendaries. It doesn't offer much beyond what similar Pokemon are capable of. Its ability is Full Metal Body, which is an exact copy of Clear Body, very unexciting stuff. It's a Psychic Steel type as well, which is not great by modern standards, and it wasn't great in Gen 7. That being said, I'm ranking Solgaleo high here just for its sheer stats and move pool alone, but perhaps I'm doing so begrudgingly. I don't know if I respect Solgaleo all that much. Visual design, I'm also not sure about. Metal Lion, it's kind of cool, but something about it doesn't speak to me. It doesn't speak to me very much. I think that they missed the mark with this one, and I'm going to say that that's the truth. Up next, we have Mew, a Pokemon from the original generation, of course, and one of the most iconic ever. And I think it's a cat. I don't know. I think it sort of looks like those hairless cats, and it does have cat ears, and it's called a Mew, which sounds like what the sound a cat makes is. I think it's a cat. It could be contentious. It could be like a weird alien. I don't know. But I'm calling Mew a cat here for the purpose of this list. I am very fond of Mew. I like the fact that it can learn any TM in the game and it has 100 in all its stats. It makes it incredibly customizable, and I am a huge fan of variety on Pokemon. I love that you can do whatever you want. With Mew, it can be a sweeper, physical, special, mixed, physically defensive wall, specially defensive wall, utility, maybe a mishmash of all of those things at once if you want. It's extraordinarily diverse. And in the first 4 generations, Mew is ranked Ubers because of the sheer variety in its options, and also because it had access to Swords Dance Explosion, which was a broken combo back then. From Gen 5 onwards, they nerfed Explosion, and the power level increased overall, so Mew became legal to use in OU, and in fact fell to UU for a time. But in subsequent games, Mew rose up to OU prominence again, largely as a utility Pokemon because of how great it was at filling gaps. It had options like Will-O-Wisp, Healing from Roost, Defog, which was a new hazard removal option, and just about any coverage you want to hit key defensive targets. Earthquake for Heatran, Flamethrower for Fortress or Ferrothorn. In Gen 8, Mew is also OU, and it is pretty variable in how you can use it there as well. As an aggressive lead, as a defensive Pokemon, as a sweeper, it's all viable, it's all valid. Mew unfortunately was nerfed in Gen 9 to no longer have any healing moves, which is tough, and it also kind of sucks that it's a mono psychic type with Synchronize, bad defensive typing in this day and age, and also an unexciting ability. And losing healing is a big deal that really caused Mew's viability to plummet, but you gotta give serious respect to that consistent career and the way Mew has adapted to different metagames and proved itself to be viable. So I think Mew is one of the better cats to ever exist, for sure. Up next is Chien-Pao, an all-new Gen 9 legendary Pokemon, part of the Ruinous Quartet. Chien-Pao is the physical attacker of the bunch. Chien-Pao is a Dark Ice type, which is a fantastic offensive type combination that we've seen be very successful on Weavile, a very similar Pokemon. Chien-Pao has the ability Sword of Ruin, which causes the other Pokemon on the field to have their defense reduced by 25%, which is a very significant increase to its damage output. Chien-Pao has base 120 attack, which is impressive enough on its own, but you can think of it as having an even higher attack stat than this because of Sword of Ruin, amplifying your damage output very directly. Chien-Pao also has a massive 135 speed stat, very, very fast, reaching up to 405 speed with maximum investment. And Chien-Pao also has a fantastic move pool. There's Icicle Crash as an Ice Stab option, which has a flinch chance on top and avoids physical contact. Very good. Crunch is your Dark Stab of choice, which is just solid, Sucker Punch is a priority option, which is fantastic to have. And you even have Ice Shard for Ice type priority. So you got incredible regular stab moves, incredible priority stab moves. You also have coverage. You got Sacred Sword, which ignores target's stat stage changes if they happen to have defensive boost, which maybe they do. Plus it has a respectable 90 power. And it hits the things that your stab types can't hit for super effective damage, which is very good. You have Psychic Fangs as well. That's useful to somebody, I think. You have Taunt if you want. You have Swords Dance if you want. It's a very straightforwardly effective physical attacker that, of course, ended up getting banned in Gen 9 and is one of the most powerful physical attackers we've ever seen in sheer damage output and priority access and stab types. It's an incredibly powerful Pokemon. I think its visual design is awesome, actually. Snow Leopard with swords coming out of its face. Very cool. Game design, though, I'm not fond of it. It's like, what if Weavile was better and did more damage? Don't know if that's that inspired, but Chien-Pao exists regardless, and that's a truth we have to come to terms with. Up next is Landorus-Therian, one of the most successful competitive Pokemon in history, perhaps the most successful. Debuting in Gen 5 to immediate OU success, Landorus-Therian was the superstar of bulky ground types. This guy has the excellent ground flying typing, fantastic stats with 145 attack and very well-rounded defenses, speed, and everything. The ability Intimidate enhances its bulk, lowering attack on switch in, making it a fantastic pivot. Its typing helps with that too, with its electric immunity, various resistances, and a spikes immunity as well. And being a flying type that also is neutral to rock is very helpful. And its move pool is also excellent. It's got U-turn for pivoting, Stealth Rock as an entry hazard, Stab Earthquake, coverage like Stone Edge, boosting options like Swords Dance and Rock Polish. For many generations it had Knockoff and Defog as well, which are fantastic. Lost those options in Gen 9, but it had them for a very long period there. Landorus-Therian I am ranking higher than some Ubers here, because Chien-Pao and Solgaleo are Ubers level Pokemon. Landorus-Therian is not an Ubers level Pokemon, but I would give it more respect than them because I think it is generally more viable in Ubers formats than a lot of Pokemon ranked Ubers officially, just because its utility and typing and defensive value is so universal that even up in Ubers you see this guy pretty often, and I think that speaks volumes. Would people contest the cat status of Landorus-Therian? I'm pretty sure that is a tiger with a log lodged in its head. Someday that log will have something to say to you, and you better be ready to hear it, but that's not today. I think Landorus-Therian is a cat. I think it's a successful cat. I think it's a top-level cat. But Landorus-Therian is not the most powerful of all cats. There's one even more powerful cat, and that would be Necrozma Duskmane, who appears to be a lion robotic creature. It is a fusion of Solgaleo and Necrozma. It also has a lot of hyphens in its name, which I consider to be a potential problem, but they've gone and done it anyway, and we can't stop them. Necrozma Duskmane is basically what if Solgaleo was way better, and it's significantly better. It has the same Psychic Steel typing, similar move pool as well, but now it has way better stats, much higher attack, better defenses, and the far better ability Prism Armor, which receives 3/4 the amount of damage from super effective attacks. You just basically get a flat damage reduction to all super effective attacks. Very, very good and universally valuable. Very powerful effect there. Necrozma Duskmane is one of the most successful legendaries in competitive singles history. Ever since it came out, it has been a very common Pokemon on competitive teams because of its moveset variety with incredible offensive tools. It's a great abuser of weakness policy because of Prism Armor. It is a fantastic physical sweeper. Necrozma Duskmane is also a great utility Pokemon. Its typing conveniently answers important threats like Xerneas. It has Stealth Rock, it has Healing and Morning Sun, it has Toxic, many things do, but it having Toxic is a good one. Necrozma Duskmane can be offensive or defensive. Fits very well because of its type profile and its fantastic Sun Steel Strike move borrowed from Solgaleo that ignores the effects of enemy abilities. It has Dragon Dance for boosting, Knockoff for coverage. It's just an extraordinarily solid Pokemon that is extremely easy to fit on teams and succeeds in every format that it is existent in. Without a doubt the most powerful cat, perhaps, that has ever existed. Delcatty is certainly aspiring to be a bit more like Necrozma Duskmane, although I don't know if I really like Necrozma Duskmane. I suppose it's fine in game, but visually it's a bit of a dog's breakfast, wouldn't you think? It's all over the place with spikes and stuff coming off it. It's got so many hyphens in its name. It's possible that they're going too far with this one, and this has too much stuff associated with it. Whatever happened to good old Ho-Oh or something? Very old man sentence right there, forgive me. Anyway, that is my cat ranking. Thank you for watching, everybody. Who's your favorite cat Pokemon? I think mine would be Mew, but what about you? Let me know down below in the comments, and thank you for watching.